Dragonsoul Offline is about a boy named Devon who is battling the world of middle school while also battling the online world with his friends. And it's about a boy that is really struggling to find his place in the real world in the same way that he finds his place online. That is until one day when the girl of his dreams, who is the student body president of the seventh grade, sees him sort of take a place of leadership in a time of need. And that is when Devon starts to realize that maybe, just maybe, middle school and the real world can be a little more exciting than the world online. The characters in the play are very much based on my friends growing up in middle school, the friends that I met online. Hamid is inspired by some of my best friends that I've had in the real world that were not shy. Even if the bullies would tease them about liking video games or anime or manga, they didn't care. They were like, you know what, this is who I am. Then you have other characters like Devon who are a little more shy and reserved about their nerdy tendencies. This was where I was, I think, in middle school, where I didn't want to be bullied. I didn't want people to make fun of me for the things that I liked, but I loved having friends like Hamid who would support me in both my real world and my online nerdy world. And then we have characters like Sade, who is just on top of everything. She's that girl that has her life together. She's the student body president. She runs the student government. She's always a part of so many clubs and organizations in school. And AJ is sort of our bully of the story. And you might notice this about AJ when you see the play. He really gets a kick out of making people laugh. But unfortunately, the way that he makes people laugh is by using kids like Devon as the butt of the joke. So yeah. So the cool thing about video games is that we as kids, especially, we get to go online and we get to create our perfect self. We can be big and strong. We can be super cute with these outfits and all of these customizations. And the difference between Devon in the real world and the online world is that in the real world, he kind of has to deal with what he's got. But on the online world, he's just the cool guy. So that's where he feels the happiest because he gets to roam and go wherever he wants. But part of Devon's journey is learning that the him that is online, that everybody loves online, is the same him as him in the real world. But he just hasn't realized that yet. My career and my current work as an actor for children's theater is actually what brought me to the idea of Dragon Soul Offline. Pre-pandemic, me and my company were touring a show to schools all over Southern California. Our show had a theme of video games. And so oftentimes the kids would come up to us and ask us, oh, do you really play video games? And me, being a nerd, of course I do. I actually play video games. So I would get into conversations with these kids as they were leaving the show, and they would talk about how, oh, this is my favorite game and I love Roblox. And do you play Roblox? What's your account? I think in general, there's a lot of children's theater that is based off of storybooks, really popular storybooks, but there's sort of a new push for new original non-adaptation plays in TYA. And with that, still, there's really not much about this online world. And one thing I noticed is that it's almost like that split between me and my parents. I grew up with the internet. I grew up with online video games and things like Roblox and Fortnite and things like that kids are playing now. And there's just sort of a wall between who has lived in those worlds and those who haven't. So I realized if there's going to be a play out there about the online world and the split between being a kid in the real world and being a kid online in these video games, I have to write it because I might be the oldest of those of us who have actually grew up in that sort of environment. Yes. Oh my gosh. That was such a fantastic experience. I was super honored to be selected for the Reimagine New Plays in TYA grantee program. It was their inaugural program. It was the first year they had ever done it. And they sort of looked around and noticed some things that I was noticing as well. There's not a lot of original content out there that's written by people of color. Let's find some and support them. But I was just so proud to be selected. And the idea that I had submitted for this program was my idea for Dragon Soul Offline. The grant really allowed me to take the time and get the items that I needed in order to make this play industry standard. It was a really great community to find and meet other playwrights that were doing the same thing. Many of them have been in the game for years and published and things like that. And by the end of it, I had a workshop with Stage One Family Theater in Louisville, Kentucky. And they pulled in so many talented artists from the Louisville area. And I got to hear my play in an online Zoom workshop setting. And that really helped me work out the kinks and find the voice of the play and make sure that what I was going for was clear. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited for the South Carolina New Play Festival, is because now I get to see it on stage in a reading format and do a little more work on it as well. I think development is so necessary for a new play. It's not until someone else hears the play or reads the play and gives me feedback that I can really understand if the message that I'm trying to get across is actually coming across. One thing that's, I think, also really important in terms of developing shows for kids is that you have kids as a part of the process. With this play, we actually had a core group of middle schoolers that were there throughout the process and gave feedback from the first reading to the last reading. There were so many surprises. And because I had their voices in the development process, as well as the voices of so many great theater makers, I was able to find the things that bring in all of the audiences that I'm trying to pull in. My ideal audience. It's so hard because I really think that everyone should see this play. Obviously, I wrote this play with the middle school version of me in mind, but I think there are going to be so many parents that learn a lot about how their kids think and why their kids are so addicted, as they say, to video games. The reason they're getting on their games so much is because that's where they're hanging out with their friends. They get to go where they want. They're acting as tour guides half the time, you know? And that might be something that a lot of adults don't understand. So I think that adults have a lot to learn in terms of why their kids are so into these Roblox and Fortnite type games. But at the same time, I think this play is going to be really, really fun for all of the gamer kids out there and all of just the kids in general. Anyone who is struggling to find their place in the world, I think will really resonate with this play.